The ship was quiet at night. Most of the crew slept in their small rooms, dreaming of home or family or the blue skies of Earth. But Kang Ji-woo did not sleep. He never slept. Not anymore. He walked through the empty hallways of the horizon's edge, his footsteps soft against the metal floor. The lights were dim during the night cycle, casting long shadows on the walls. Ji-woo liked it this way. The darkness felt honest. It matched the feeling inside his chest. 3 years. He had been on this ship for 3 years now, traveling through the black emptiness of space. The mission was simple. Make friends with aliens. Show them that humans were good. Build peace between Earth and the stars. But for Ji-woo, the mission felt endless. Each day was the same. Each night was longer. He stopped at the observation deck and sat down on the cold bench. Through the massive window, he could see 1,000 stars burning in the distance. They were beautiful. They were also very, very far away, just like everything else he had ever loved. Ji-woo pulled out a small photograph from his pocket. It was old and worn at the edges. A woman smiled at him from the picture. She had kind eyes and a warm smile. Her name was Somi. She had been his wife. She died 4 years ago. A shuttle accident. Quick and sudden and impossible to stop. One day she was there, laughing at his bad jokes, stealing food from his plate. The next day, she was gone. Just like that. And Ji-woo had been alone ever since. He could not sleep in an empty bed. His body refused. Every time he closed his eyes, he reached for her. And every time, his hand found only cold sheets. So he stopped trying. He walked the ship instead. He watched the stars. He waited for morning. The door behind him opened with a soft hiss. Ji-woo turned to see Captain Yoon Hana walking toward him. She was a tall woman with sharp eyes and a voice that could command a room. But right now, she looked tired too. Still awake, she said. It was not a question. Still awake, Ji-woo agreed. Hana sat down beside him and looked out at the stars. We got a message today. Big news. What kind of news? The Kalorian Queen is coming. She will board our ship tomorrow for the final negotiations. Ji-woo raised his eyebrows. The Kalorians were a powerful alien empire. They had ships that could destroy planets. They had technology humans could not even understand. And their queen was coming here, to this small diplomatic vessel. Why? Ji-woo asked. We are nobody. Why would she come to us? Hana shook her head. I do not know. But it is an honor. Or a test. Maybe both. She turned to look at him. You will be her liaison. Her guide. She requested a scientist. And you are the best exobiologist on this ship. Ji-woo felt his stomach twist. Me? I am not good with people, Captain. You know this. You are good with understanding things, Hana said. Alien biology. Alien behavior. You see what others miss. That is why I need you. She stood up and put a hand on his shoulder. Try to get some sleep, Ji-woo. Tomorrow will be a long day. She left. Ji-woo stayed. He looked at the stars and wondered what kind of being ruled an empire that stretched across 100 worlds. He wondered if she ever felt alone. The next morning, the Kalorian ship arrived. It was massive, like a mountain floating in space. Its surface was dark purple and covered in strange patterns that seemed to move like living things. The crew of the Horizon's Edge gathered in the docking bay, standing in neat lines, wearing their best uniforms. Ji-woo stood near the front, his heart beating fast. He had studied the Kalorians for years. He knew their biology. They were cold-blooded, like reptiles on Earth. They had scales instead of skin. They could sense heat and emotion through special organs in their faces. They considered touch to be either sacred or insulting, depending on the situation. One wrong move could start a war. The docking bay doors opened, and she entered. Queen Velith was tall, taller than any human. Her body was covered in silver blue scales that shimmered like water under moonlight. Her eyes were large and golden, with pupils shaped like diamonds. She wore a long black robe that flowed behind her like smoke. Around her neck hung a crystal that glowed with soft purple light. She was beautiful. She was also terrifying. Behind her walked a group of guards and advisors. One of them was a male Kalorian, with darker scales and angry eyes. Ji-woo guessed this was someone important, Someone who did not like humans? Captain Hana stepped forward and bowed. Queen Velith, welcome to the horizon's edge. We are honored by your presence. The Queen's voice was deep and smooth, like music played on strange instruments. Captain Hana, your ship is small, but your reputation is large. I hope we will build something good together. The formal greetings continued. Jiwoo watched from his place, trying to stay invisible. But then the Queen's golden eyes turned toward him. She looked at him for a long moment, her head tilting slightly to the side. You, she said, step forward. Jiwoo's legs felt weak, but he obeyed. He walked to the front and bowed. Your Majesty, I am Kang Jiwoo, exobiologist. I will be your scientific liaison during your stay. The Queen studied him. Her eyes moved over his face like she was reading a book. You are different, she said quietly. Your heat signature. It pulses in an unusual pattern. Jiwoo did not know what to say. I am sorry. Do not apologize. It is not bad. It is simply different. She paused. You carry a great emptiness inside you, Kang Jiwoo. I can feel it, like a cold star. The room was silent. Everyone stared. Jiwoo felt naked under her gaze. We will speak more later, the Queen said. Then she turned and followed Captain Hana into the ship. Jiwoo stood there, frozen. The dark-scaled Kalorian, the angry one, walked past him and whispered, Stay away from her, human. You are not worthy to breathe the same air. That night, Jiwoo returned to the observation deck. He sat in his usual spot and stared at the stars. He thought about the Queen's words. She had seen something inside him, something he tried to hide from everyone else. He did not notice the shadow watching him from the doorway. He did not see the Queen standing there, her golden eyes glowing softly in the darkness. She watched him for a long time. She watched a lonely man stare at the stars, and she felt something she had not felt in centuries. She felt curious. She felt a connection, and deep inside her ancient heart, she felt a small spark of warmth. The negotiations began the next day. Queen Velith sat at the head of a long table, surrounded by her advisors. Captain Hana sat across from her, with Jiwoo and other human officers at her sides. They talked about trade. They talked about borders. They talked about peace. Jiwoo was there to explain human biology whenever the Kalorians had questions. Why did humans need so much water? Why did they sleep so long? Why were they so warm? He answered everything calmly and carefully, but his eyes kept moving back to the Queen. Something was wrong with her. At first, he thought he was imagining it. But as the days passed, he became certain. Her scales, which had been bright silver blue when she arrived, were becoming dull. They looked gray now, like old metal left in the rain. Her movements were slower too. When she walked, she seemed tired. When she spoke, her voice was weaker. Her advisors noticed. They whispered to each other with worried faces. The dark-scaled Kalorian, whose name was Prince Toric, watched her with strange eyes. Jiwoo could not tell if the prince was worried or waiting. On the 5th day, Jiwoo was called to the Queen's private chambers for a research meeting. He brought his tablet and his notes. He expected to discuss biology and culture. He did not expect what happened next. The Queen was sitting by the window when he entered. She looked out at the stars, her back to him. She did not turn around. Close the door. Kang Jiwoo. He obeyed. The room became very quiet. You have been watching me, the Queen said. I have felt your eyes during every meeting. You see something that others miss. Jiwoo hesitated. Your Majesty, I did not mean to. Do not apologize. It is your job to observe. She finally turned to face him. Up close, she looked even worse. Her scales had lost their shine completely. Dark circles had formed under her golden eyes. Tell me what you see. Jiwoo took a deep breath. He knew he should stay quiet. He knew it was dangerous to speak honestly to a queen, but he could not lie. I see someone who is sick. Your Majesty, your body is failing. I do not know why, but I can see it clearly. The Queen smiled. It was a sad smile, tired and old. You are brave, human, or foolish. Most beings would pretend they saw nothing. I am not most beings. No, she said softly. You are not. She walked to a chair and sat down slowly. like every movement caused her pain. She gestured for Jiwoo to sit across from her. He did. What I am about to tell you is a secret, the queen said. If you share it with anyone, I will deny it, and my brother will probably kill you. Do you understand? Jiwoo nodded. His heart was beating very fast. I am dying, Kang Jiwoo. I have a condition that my people call the fading. It happens to Kalorian royalty when we remain alone for too long. She paused, looking at her gray hands. We are cold-blooded, as you know. We cannot make our own heat. We must get it from outside sources, from our environment, from technology. She looked up at him. From other beings. I do not understand, Jiwoo said. Kalorians bond in pairs. When two of us bond, we share heat. We share life energy. It keeps us alive and strong. But royalty is different. We are forbidden from bonding with anyone of lower status. We can only bond with equals. Her voice became bitter. And in 800 years, I have found no one equal, no one worthy. So I remain alone. And now the cold is killing me. Jiwoo stared at her. 800 years. She had been alone for 800 years. He thought his 4 years of loneliness were unbearable. But 800? He could not imagine it. There must be a cure, he said. Medicine. Technology. Something. We have tried everything. Nothing works. The only cure is a true bond with a worthy partner. And I will die before I bond with someone I do not choose. She laughed quietly. My advisors think I am foolish. My brother thinks I am weak. Perhaps they are right. They are wrong. The queen looked at him with surprise. You are not foolish for wanting to choose your own life, Jiwoo said. And you are not weak for refusing to give up who you are. That is strength. Real strength. For a long moment, the queen said nothing. She just looked at him, her golden eyes searching his face. Then she asked, Why are you so kind to me, human? Your people fear us. They see us as monsters. Jiwoo thought about the question. I do not see a monster, he said finally. I see someone who is tired, someone who is lonely, someone who sits in the dark because the light is too painful. He looked down at his hands. I understand that feeling very well. Your wife, the queen said. The one you lost. You loved her. Yes. And you have been alone since then. Yes. How do you survive it, the emptiness? Jiwoo was quiet for a while. No one had ever asked him that question. Everyone told him to move on, to be strong, to find someone new. No one asked how he actually survived the days. I do not know, he admitted. I walk. I watch the stars. I keep breathing. Some nights, I am not sure why. But I keep going, because stopping feels worse than hurting. The queen leaned forward. You are the first being in centuries who has spoken to me like this. Not to the queen, not to the ruler, but to me, to Velith. She reached out her hand, stopping just before touching him. You are warm. I can feel it from here, like a fire burning inside you. Humans are warm-blooded, Jiwoo said. Our bodies make heat constantly. I know, but yours is different. It is not just your body. It is something deeper. Your spirit is warm. She pulled her hand back. It is strange, confusing, but also comforting. Jiwoo did not know what to say. He had never been called warm before. He had felt cold inside for so long. The queen stood up, ending the meeting. You may go, Kang Jiwoo. But I would like you to visit me again tomorrow. There is much I wish to learn about humans and about you. He bowed and left. As he walked back to his quarters, he thought about everything she had told him. She was dying. She was alone. She had chosen to be alone rather than accept a bond she did not want. He understood that choice. That night, he went to the observation deck again. He sat in his usual spot. He looked at the stars. But for the first time in years, he was not thinking about the past. He was thinking about a lonely queen who was slowly turning to gray. He was thinking about a warmth he did not know he still had. And somewhere deep in his chest, in the cold place where Somi used to live, he felt something move. Something small. Something alive. Hope. Every day after that, Queen Velith called Jiwoo to her chambers. She said it was for research. She said she wanted to learn about human culture. But Jiwoo knew the truth. She wanted someone to talk to, someone who saw her as a person instead of a crown. He did not mind. In fact, he looked forward to their meetings. They talked about everything. She asked him about Earth. He told her about the blue oceans and green forests. He told her about rain and snow and the way sunlight felt on human skin. She listened to every word like it was precious treasure. "Your planet sounds beautiful," she said one afternoon, "and dangerous. So much water, so much fire, so much life, all fighting to survive." "It is beautiful," Jiwoo agreed. "But it can be cruel too. Humans hurt each other. We destroy things. We make mistakes." "All living beings make mistakes," Vela said. "The question is whether they learn from them." She asked about human relationships next. Why did humans hold hands? Why did they embrace? Why did they sleep next to each other, even when there was no practical reason? Jiwoo thought carefully before answering. Humans need touch to survive. Not just our bodies, but our minds. When we are alone for too long, we get sick. Our hearts break. We forget how to feel safe. "That sounds like the fading," Vela said quietly. "Maybe it is," Jiwoo said. "Maybe all lonely beings fade, no matter what species they are." Velith was quiet for a moment. Then she asked, "When humans sleep together, what happens?" "Not mating, just sleeping, side by side." Jiwoo smiled sadly. "It is hard to explain. There is no word for it in any language I know. When you sleep next to someone you trust, your body relaxes, your heartbeat slows. You feel safe in a way you cannot feel alone. It is like your soul knows it is not alone in the darkness." "You miss it," Vela said. "Sleeping next to your wife, every night. That is why you cannot sleep now. You are afraid of the empty space beside you." Jiwoo looked at her. No one had ever understood it so clearly. Yes, that is exactly it. Velith reached toward him again. This time, she let her fingers touch his hand, just for a second. Her scales were cool against his skin. But at the point of contact, he felt something strange, a pull, like two magnets finding each other. She pulled back quickly, her eyes wide. "Your heat," she whispered. "It is so strong. I have never felt anything like it. Are you okay?" "Yes, I am." She looked at her own hand like it belonged to someone else. "I am more than okay. For that one moment, I felt warm, truly warm. Not from a machine, not from the sun, from you." They stared at each other. Something had changed between them. They both felt it. The next day, Velith looked worse. Her scales were almost completely gray now. Her hands trembled when she tried to lift her cup. Her advisors argued loudly outside her door. Prince Torek demanded to see her, but she refused. Jiwoo came for their meeting at the usual time. But when he entered the room, he found her standing by the window, holding onto the wall for support. "Your Majesty, you should be resting." "I have rested enough," she said. Her voice was weak. "Resting does nothing. Nothing helps." She turned to look at him, and her eyes were filled with something he had never seen before. Fear. "I do not have much time left, Jiwoo. Days. Maybe less. There must be something we can do." "There is nothing." She took a step toward him, but her legs gave out. Jiwoo moved without thinking. He caught her before she hit the floor. His arms wrapped around her body, pulling her against his chest. She was so cold. Her scales felt like ice. "Hold on," he said. "I have you. I have you." She did not fight. She could not fight. She was too weak. So she let him hold her, her face pressed against his chest, her hands gripping his shirt. And then something happened. Warmth. It started where their bodies touched. His heat flowed into her like water into dry earth. Her scales began to change color, fading from gray to pale blue. Her trembling stopped. Her breathing became steady. Jiwoo held her for a long time. He did not know how long. Minutes. Hours. It did not matter. He just held on and let his warmth pour into her. Finally, Velith lifted her head. Her eyes were brighter now. Her voice was stronger. "What did you do?" "I do not know. I just held you." "No." She touched her own face, feeling her scales. "This is not normal. Human heat should not affect me this way." No heat should affect me this way. The door burst open. Kalorian guards rushed in with weapons raised. Prince Torek was right behind them, his dark eyes burning with anger. "Release the queen," he shouted. "You dare put your hands on her." Jiwoo did not move. Velith was still weak. He would not let her fall. "Stand down," Velith commanded. Her voice echoed through the room. "All of you, stand down now." The guards hesitated. They looked at Torek, then at the queen. Slowly, they lowered their weapons. "But sister," Torek said, "he touched you, without permission. He saved my life." Velith stood up on her own now, though she stayed close to Jiwoo. "I was falling. He caught me. His warmth stabilized my condition." Torek stared at them both with disgust. "His warmth? He is human. A primitive. His warmth means nothing." "You are wrong, brother." Velith looked at Jiwoo with something new in her eyes. Respect. Wonder. Maybe something more. Human warmth is not like anything else in the galaxy. It comes from inside them. From their spirits. From something we do not have. She turned to face her guards. "Leave us. All of you." Now. They left. Even Torek left, though his eyes promised that this was not over. When they were alone, Velith faced Jiwoo again. "You saved me. Why?" "Because you were falling." That is not an answer. Jiwoo thought about it. Why had he moved so fast? Why had he held on so tight? He barely knew this woman. She was an alien queen. She was not his responsibility, but she was lonely. She was dying. And when he looked at her, he saw himself. "Because no one should fade alone," he said. "No one should disappear while the universe looks away." Velith stepped closer. She took his hand in hers. Properly this time. Her scales were warming now, taking on a soft glow. "You are a strange human, Kang Jiwoo," she said. "Strange and wonderful and impossible." She squeezed his hand. "I think the universe sent you to me. I do not know why, but I am glad it did." Jiwoo squeezed back. "I am glad too." They stood there, holding hands, two lonely beings in a ship full of stars. And for the first time in a very long time, neither of them felt alone. The days that followed were difficult. Word had spread about what happened in the Queen's chambers. The Kalorian advisors were angry. Prince Torek called meetings with the council. Everyone was talking about the human who dared to touch the Queen. Jiwoo was told to stay in his quarters. Captain Hana came to see him, her face tight with worry. "What were you thinking?" she asked. "Do you know what you have done?" She was falling. "I caught her. That is all." "That is not all. You held the Queen of the Kalorian Empire. Without permission, without protocol, you could have started a war." Jiwoo looked at his hands. The same hands that had held Velith. The same hands that had felt her cold scales grow warm. "I would do it again," he said quietly. "If she was falling, I would catch her again." Hana stared at him for a long moment. Then she sat down heavily on his small bed. "Something happened between you two. I can see it in your eyes. Tell me the truth, Jiwoo. What is going on?" So he told her. He told her about the Queen's condition, about the fading, about how she was dying because she had been alone for 800 years. He told her about the warmth that flowed from his body into hers, about how it saved her life. Hana listened without speaking. When he finished, she was quiet for a while. "Human thermal resonance," she said finally. "I have read theories about this. Some scientists believe that human body heat carries special energy, something that other species lack." She looked at him. "But this is more than science, is it not? There is something between you and her." "I do not know what there is," Jiwoo admitted. "I only know that when I am with her, I feel less alone. And when she is with me, she lives instead of dies." Hana stood up. "Stay here tonight. Do not leave your quarters. I will try to calm the situation." "But Jiwoo." She paused at the door. "Be careful. Whatever is happening between you two, it could change everything, for better or for worse." She laughed. Jiwoo sat alone in his small room. It was late now. The night cycle had begun. Everyone else was sleeping. Everyone except him. He looked at the photograph of Somi again. Her kind eyes. Her warm smile. He wondered what she would think of all this. He wondered if she would be angry or if she would understand. A soft knock came at his door. Ji-woo froze. Only crew members knew where his quarters were, and no one ever visited him at night. He opened the door slowly. His heart stopped. Queen Velith stood in the hallway. She was alone. No guards, no advisors. Just her, wrapped in a dark cloak that hid her face. "May I come in?" she asked. Ji-woo stepped aside without a word. She entered, and he closed the door behind her. "How did you get here without being seen?" "I am the queen," she said simply. "I know every shadow on every ship I command." She lowered her hood. Her scales were pale tonight. The warmth from earlier was fading. "I could not sleep. I kept thinking about you. You should be resting. Your condition, my condition, is why I am here." She looked around his small room. It was simple. A bed, a desk, a chair, some books. Nothing more. "This is where you live?" "Yes. It is very small. I do not need much." She walked to his desk and saw the photograph of Somi. She picked it up gently, looking at the woman's face. "She was beautiful," Vela said. "Yes. You look at this picture every night?" "Every night." Velith set the photograph down carefully. Then she turned to face him. "I have not asked anyone for anything in 800 years. I am a queen. I take what I want. I command what I need." She paused. "But tonight, I am not asking as a queen. I am asking as Velith, as someone who is dying, as someone who is very, very tired of being alone." Ji-woo's chest felt tight. "What are you asking?" She looked at his small bed. Then she looked at him. "Would you let me stay?" The words hung in the air between them. Ji-woo understood what she meant. Not romance. Not mating. Something simpler. Something more vulnerable. She was asking to sleep beside him. Ji-woo thought about the empty space in his bed. The space he had protected for 4 years. The space that belonged to Somi. He thought about the cold that lived there now. The cold that matched the cold inside him. He thought about a dying queen who had been alone longer than most civilizations existed. He walked to his bed and pulled back the blanket. Then he moved to one side, making room. "It is small," he said. "But there is enough space for 2. Velith's golden eyes widened. She had expected him to refuse. She had prepared herself for rejection. But he was offering her something no one had offered in centuries. A place beside him. She removed her cloak and lay down next to him. Her body was cold against his warmth. But where they touched, heat began to flow. Her scales slowly changed from gray to blue. Her breathing became deep and steady. Neither of them spoke. They just lay there, side by side, looking up at the ceiling. "When I was young," Velith said quietly, "before I became queen, I had someone, a male named Korath. We were going to bond, but my mother died, and I became queen, and the law said I could not bond with someone below me." She closed her eyes. "Korath waited for 200 years. Then he faded too. I watched him die because I could not touch him. I am sorry. I swore I would never let anyone that close again. It hurt too much." She turned her head to look at him. "But you are already close. I do not know how it happened. I do not know why. But when I am with you, the pain is less." Ji-woo turned to look at her. In the dim light, she did not look like a queen. She looked like a tired woman who needed rest. "My wife used to say that sleep heals everything," he said. "She said that when you sleep next to someone you trust, your soul repairs itself. Do you trust me?" "Ji-woo?" "Yes. I trust you too." She moved closer, her head resting near his shoulder. "I do not know what happens tomorrow. My brother wants to separate us. The council wants to condemn me. Everything is falling apart." She closed her eyes. "But right now, I do not care. Right now, I just want to be warm." Ji-woo put his arm around her. It felt natural, like his body remembered how to hold someone, even after all these years. "Then be warm," he said. "I have enough heat for both of us." Neither of them slept that night. But neither of them was alone either. They lay together in the darkness, 2 broken beings holding each other. And for a few precious hours, the universe felt smaller and kinder. By morning, something had changed. Not love, Not yet. Love was too big a word for what they had, but something real, something necessary, a bond. And somewhere in the galaxy, in the cold halls of Kalorian command ships, Prince Torek was planning to destroy it. The Kalorian fleet arrived 3 days later. 12 warships surrounded the horizon's edge like wolves around a lamb. Their weapons were powered. Their shields were raised. One wrong move, and the small human vessel would become dust. Prince Torek had called them. He had sent a message to the Kalorian High Council, telling them that the Queen had been contaminated by human influence. He said she was no longer fit to rule. He demanded a tribunal. The council agreed. Captain Hana stood on the bridge, watching the massive ships through the viewport. Her crew was scared. She could see it in their eyes, hear it in their voices. They were diplomats and scientists, not soldiers. They had no way to fight and no way to run. "What do we do, Captain?" her first officer asked. "We do what we came here to do," Hana said firmly. "We talk, we negotiate, we find a way." Jiwoo stood in the corner of the bridge, watching. He felt responsible for all of this. If he had not touched the Queen, if he had not let her into his room, none of this would be happening. Velith was on the Kalorian command ship now. They had taken her that morning. She went without fighting, her head held high. Before she left, she looked at Jiwoo one last time. "Do not blame yourself," she said. "I made my choices. I regret nothing." Then she was gone. Now Jiwoo stood alone, watching the ships that might kill them all, wondering if he would ever see her again. Hana's communicator beeped. A cold voice filled the bridge. "Human vessel, you are ordered to send your crew to the command ship for questioning. Any resistance will be met with force." Hana pressed the button to respond. "This is Captain Yoon Hana. We are a diplomatic mission. We have done nothing wrong. We request the right to speak before your council." There was a long silence. Then the voice returned. "You will have one chance to speak. If the council is not satisfied, your ship will be destroyed." "Understood." The communication ended. Hana turned to her crew. "Stay calm. Keep the ship running. I will handle this." She looked at Jiwoo. "You are coming with me." They took a small shuttle to the Kalorian command ship. Inside, everything was cold and dark. The walls were made of black stone. The lights were dim purple. Kalorian guards watched them with hostile eyes as they walked through the long corridors. The council chamber was at the center of the ship. It was a massive room with high ceilings and a raised platform where 7 Kalorian elders sat. They were ancient. Their scales faded to deep gray, their eyes clouded with age. Prince Torek stood before them, tall and proud. Velith stood nearby, surrounded by guards. Her hands were bound with glowing chains. When Hana and Jiwoo entered, Torek smiled coldly. "Ah, the humans have arrived. How nice of them to witness their queen's downfall." "She is not our queen," Hana said, "but she is our friend, and we will not let you hurt her." Laughter echoed through the chamber. The elders looked amused. Torek looked disgusted. "Friend?" he said. "You have known her for less than a cycle. You are nothing. Your entire species is nothing. You are insects trying to walk among giants." "Enough." The eldest council member spoke, his voice like grinding stones. "We are here to judge the queen, not to insult the visitors." He looked at Velith. "Queen Velith, you are accused of debasing the throne through improper contact with a lesser species. You are accused of allowing your judgment to be clouded by alien influence. How do you answer?" Velith stood tall despite the chains. "I answer that I am dying. I have the fading. You all know this. You have known for decades." Her voice grew strong. "I answer that this human, Kang Jiwoo, saved my life. His warmth stopped my deterioration. For the first time in centuries, I felt alive." Torek stepped forward. She admits it. She admits that she has bonded with a human. This is forbidden. The law is clear. "I have not bonded," Velith said. "I have only touched. I have only received warmth. There is no law against that. The spirit of the law. The spirit of the law is to protect the throne, and I am the throne. Without me, there is no empire. Without me, you have nothing." The council murmured among themselves. They knew she was right. Velith was the last of the royal bloodline. If she died, the empire would fall into chaos. Torek sensed he was losing. He changed tactics. Even if we ignore the legal violations, the fact remains that this human has corrupted our queen. He has made her weak. He has made her dependent on primitive warmth instead of proper calorian solutions. May I speak? Everyone turned to look at Hana. She had stepped forward, her chin raised, her eyes steady. You may, the eldest council member said. But choose your words carefully, human. Hana nodded. Then she took a deep breath and began. I will not pretend to understand your laws or your culture. I am human. I am, as Prince Torek says, from a young and small species. We have only been traveling among the stars for a few centuries. You have been here for thousands of years. She paused. But I know some things that you do not. I know that humans cross the void of space not to conquer or to take, but to find others like ourselves. We are lonely creatures. We come from a small blue planet, surrounded by endless darkness, and yet we kept reaching outward, hoping to find someone, anyone, who might understand us. She looked at Velith. Your queen is dying, not from disease, not from poison, from loneliness. She has been alone for 800 years because your laws and your pride demanded it. And in all that time, not one Kalorian stepped forward to save her. Torek opened his mouth to speak, but Hana continued. Then a simple human, a man who lost his wife and could not sleep at night, saw her falling, and he caught her. He held her, not because he wanted power, not because he wanted status. He held her because that is what humans do. We hold each other in the dark. Silence fell over the chamber. Even the elders were listening now. You call us primitive, Hannah said. You call us insects. But when your queen was dying, it was a human who gave her warmth. It was a human who stayed by her side. It was a human who asked for nothing in return except to see her live. She looked directly at Torek. That is not weakness. That is not corruption. That is love in its purest form. And if your empire cannot recognize that, then perhaps you are the ones who have faded. The chamber was completely silent. Jiwoo watched the council members. He saw doubt in their old eyes. He saw questions they had never asked before. He saw something that might be shame. But Torek was not finished. He stepped toward Hannah with rage in his face. Pretty words from a pretty creature. But words mean nothing. Tradition means everything. Our laws exist for a reason. If we allow humans to touch our royalty, what comes next? Human influence in our politics, human ideas in our culture. He turned to the council. This is not about one woman and one man. This is about the survival of our species. The eldest council member raised his hand for silence. He looked very old and very tired. Prince Torek makes a valid point. We cannot ignore tradition simply because of one emotional plea. He looked at Velith. However, Queen Velith is correct that she has not violated any specific law. He was quiet for a moment. Then he spoke again. There is one way to resolve this. The trial of resonance. Gasps filled the chamber. Even Velith looked shocked. The trial has not been performed in 1,000 years, she said. Then it is time to perform it again. The elder looked at Jiwoo. Human, if you truly have a bond with our queen, you will prove it. In the trial, both parties enter the freezing chamber. If your warmth can sustain her there, where no Kalorian bond has ever succeeded, then your connection is real. He paused. If you fail, you will both die. The chamber fell silent once more. Everyone looked at Jiwoo. He looked at Velith. She was shaking her head slightly, her eyes filled with fear. Fear for him, not for herself. He looked at Hana. She looked terrified. Then he looked at the council. I accept, he said, and the fate of 2 species was sealed. They gave Jiwoo 1 hour to prepare. He spent most of it alone in a small room, staring at the cold walls. He was going to die. He knew this. The trial of resonance was designed for Kalorians, beings who could survive extreme cold for hours. He was human. His body would shut down in minutes. But he had made his choice, and he would not take it back. The door opened. Velith entered. Her chains were gone now, replaced by a simple gray robe. She looked at him with eyes full of pain. "You should not have accepted," she said. "This is suicide." "Maybe. But if I did not accept, they would have killed us anyway. At least this way, there is a chance." "There is no chance." The trial chamber drops to -100 degrees. No warm-blooded creature has ever survived. Jiwoo smiled sadly. "Then I will be the first." Velith crossed the room and stood in front of him. She was shaking, and Jiwoo realized it was not from cold. It was from fear. "Why are you doing this?" she asked. "We have known each other for weeks." "That is nothing. That is less than a single heartbeat in my life. Why would you die for me?" Jiwoo thought about the question. He thought about Somi. He thought about the 4 years of empty nights and cold beds. He thought about the way Velith looked at the stars. He thought about the warmth that flowed between them when they touched. "Because you are worth it," he said simply. "Because for the first time since my wife died, I feel like I am living instead of just surviving. You gave that to me. The least I can do is try to return it." Velith took his hand. Her scales were warm now, still holding the heat from their nights together. "If we die," she said, "I want you to know something. In 800 years, no one has made me feel the way you do. No one has seen me the way you see me. If I must fade, I am glad I will fade beside you." Jiwoo squeezed her hand. "We are not going to fade. Not today." Guards came to take them to the trial chamber. The entire council was there, along with Prince Torek and hundreds of Kalorian witnesses. Captain Hana and the crew of the Horizon's Edge were there too, standing in a small corner, their faces pale with fear. The chamber itself was a massive dome made of black ice. Strange machines surrounded it, pumping cold air into the space. Through the transparent walls, Jiwoo could see frost forming on every surface. The eldest council member stood before them. "The rules of the trial are simple. You will enter the chamber together. The temperature will drop to survival limits. If you emerge alive after 1 hour, your bond is proven true, and the human will be granted the status of thermal consort." He paused. "No one has ever passed this trial. Most die within minutes." "Encouraging," Jiwoo muttered. Velith squeezed his hand tighter. The chamber door opened. A blast of cold air hit them like a wall. Jiwoo felt his lungs burn from the shock. "Do not let go of me," Velith whispered. "Whatever happens, do not let go." They entered together. The door closed behind them. The machines roared to life. The temperature began to drop. Jiwoo felt the cold immediately. It cut through his clothes like knives. His fingers went numb. His breath turned to fog. His body started to shake. He wrapped his arms around Velith and pulled her close. She pressed against him, her head buried in his chest. Her scales were turning gray again. The cold was attacking her too. "Stay with me," Jiwoo said through chattering teeth. "Focus on my heat. Take everything you need. I am trying. But it is so cold. So cold." Minutes passed. The temperature kept dropping. Jiwoo felt his heart slowing down. His vision was getting blurry. His legs wanted to collapse, but he kept holding on. He thought about warmth. He thought about summer days on Earth. He thought about campfires and hot coffee and the feeling of sunlight on his face. He thought about Somi, her laugh, her touch, the way she curled against him at night. And slowly, impossibly, his body responded. Heat rose from somewhere deep inside him, not just from his core, but from his spirit, from his memories, from his love. Velith gasped. "I feel it, your warmth. It is growing. Take it. Take all of it." She pressed closer. The heat flowed from him into her, steady and strong. Her scales began to glow, shifting from gray to blue to silver. Her body temperature stabilized. But Jiwoo was getting colder. Every bit of heat he gave her was heat he lost. He could feel his body shutting down. His heart was struggling. His mind was getting dark. "Jiwoo." Velith looked up at him with terrified eyes. "You are dying. You are giving me too much. It does not matter. It matters to me." He smiled at her. His lips were blue. His eyes were barely open. "Then live for me. Whatever happens, live." She screamed. Not a word. Just a sound of pure anguish. She held him tighter, trying to give warmth back to him. But she had none to give. She was cold-blooded. She could only take. The hour was almost over. Jiwoo's heart was barely beating. He could not feel his body anymore. He was floating in darkness, falling into the deep cold that waits at the end of all things. But then he felt something. A memory. A voice. "Somi, you always were stubborn," she said, laughing somewhere in the darkness. "Holding on when everyone else lets go." "I am trying," he whispered. "I am so tired." "Then rest. But do not stop. Not yet. There is someone who needs you." He thought of Velith, her golden eyes, her tired smile, her centuries of loneliness. He would not let her be alone again. From somewhere he did not know existed, he found more heat. It was not from his body. It was from his soul. It was from every moment of love and joy and pain he had ever experienced. It was from Somi's memory, giving him one last gift. He burned. The chamber sensors went wild. The temperature around Jiwoo and Velith rose by 30 degrees. Frost melted, ice cracked. The observers outside gasped in disbelief. When the door finally opened, the humans and Kalorians rushed inside. They found Velith standing, glowing brighter than she had in centuries. Her fading was gone. Her scales shimmered like stars. And in her arms, barely alive but still breathing, was Jiwoo. "Medics!" Hana shouted. "Get human medics now." They carried him out. His core temperature had dropped to dangerous levels, but he was alive. Somehow, impossibly, he was alive. Prince Torek stood in shocked silence. The council members stared with wide eyes. No one could speak. The eldest council member finally stepped forward. His voice was different now. Softer, humble. "The trial is complete," he said. "The bond is proven true." He looked at Jiwoo's unconscious form. This human has done what no Kalorian has done in 1,000 years. He passed through the cold with nothing but his own warmth. He turned to Velith. "Your Majesty, from this day forward, Kang Jiwoo is your thermal consort. Let no one challenge this bond again." Velith knelt beside Jiwoo. Tears ran down her face, strange and new. Kalorians did not cry. But she was crying now. "Wake up," she whispered. "Please wake up. I cannot do this alone. Not again." Jiwoo's eyes fluttered. He looked at her through the haze of pain and exhaustion. "Did we win?" he asked weakly. Velith laughed through her tears. "Yes, you impossible human. We won." He smiled. Then he closed his eyes and slept. For the first time in 4 years, he slept peacefully. Jiwoo woke up in a warm room. Soft light filled the space. Strange machines hummed around him, monitoring his body. He was alive. He tried to sit up, but his body refused. Every muscle ached. Every bone felt hollow. He had never been so tired in his entire life. "Do not move." He turned his head. Velith was sitting beside his bed, watching him with her golden eyes. She looked different now. Stronger. Brighter. Her scales shimmered with silver light. The darkness that had haunted her was gone. "How long?" Jiwoo asked. His voice was rough and dry. 3 days. The doctors were not sure you would survive. Your body temperature dropped so low that your heart almost stopped. She reached out and touched his hand. Her scales were warm now. "But you held on. You always hold on. I had something to hold on to." She smiled. It was a real smile. Not the tired, sad expression he had seen before. "The council has approved everything. The alliance between Kalorians and humans is official. Your Captain Hana signed the treaty yesterday. And your brother?" Velith's smile faded slightly. "Torek has accepted the council's decision. He had no choice. After what you did in the trial, no one could deny the truth of our bond." She paused. "He will never like you, but he will not try to kill you anymore. That is progress." She laughed. It was the first time he had heard her laugh properly. It was a beautiful sound, like music played on strange bells. Jiwoo tried to sit up again. This time, Velith helped him, supporting his back with her hands. He looked around the room. It was nicer than any room he had been in before. Larger, more comfortable. "Where am I?" "My private chamber, on my personal ship." She looked at him carefully. This is where you will live now. If you want to." Jiwoo thought about the small room on the horizon's edge, the narrow bed, the empty space beside him, the photograph of Somi that he looked at every night. "What about my work, my research?" "You can continue your work here. We have laboratories. We have resources. You will have access to knowledge that no human has ever seen." She hesitated. "But I understand if you want to return to your people. You are not a prisoner. You are free to choose." Jiwoo looked at her. He saw the fear in her eyes, the same fear she had shown in the trial chamber. She was afraid he would leave. After 800 years of being alone, she was finally not alone, and she was terrified of losing that. He understood. He felt the same fear. "I will stay," he said. "If you will have me." Relief flooded her face. She took his hand in both of hers. "I will have you, Kang Jiwoo. For as long as you want. For as long as you will stay." The months that followed changed everything. The Kalorian-Human alliance became the foundation of a new era in galactic history. Trade routes opened. Scientists from both species worked together. Medical researchers studied the phenomenon of human thermal resonance, discovering that human body heat carried unique energy patterns that could heal many Kalorian conditions. Humanity was no longer seen as primitive. They were recognized throughout the galaxy as the warm ones, a species whose fire burned not just in their bodies, but in their spirits, a species that had crossed the void of space not to conquer, but to connect. Captain Hana became the first human ambassador to the Kalorian Empire. She negotiated treaties and resolved conflicts with the same steady voice she had used to defend Jiwoo and Velith. Prince Torek remained in the council, watching and waiting. He never apologized for what he had done, but he also never challenged Velith again. He had seen something in that trial chamber that changed him. He had seen a human willing to die for love, and though he would never admit it, it made him question everything he believed. But none of that mattered to Jiwoo. Not really. What mattered was the quiet moments. The mornings when he woke up beside Velith, her scales warm from his heat. The evenings when they walked through her gardens, talking about nothing important. The nights when they lay together, holding hands, watching the stars through wide windows. He still thought about Somi sometimes. He kept her photograph in a drawer, taking it out when the memories became too strong. He would look at her face and feel the old pain, the old love, but the pain was different now. It was not sharp and cutting. It was soft and gentle, like an old scar that no longer hurts. He had not forgotten her. He would never forget her. But he had learned something important. Love does not run out. You can love someone who is gone and still love someone who is here. The heart is not a cup that empties. It is a fire that grows. One night, many months after the trial, Velith and Jiwoo lay together in their shared quarters. The ship was traveling through a beautiful nebula, and colors danced across the window, purple and blue and gold, mixing like paint and water. "I never thanked you," Velith said quietly. "For what?" "For saving my life. For staying when you could have left. For being warm when everything else was cold." Jiwoo turned to look at her. She was beautiful in the nebula's light. Her scales caught the colors and reflected them back, making her glow like a living jewel. "You saved me too," he said. "I was fading before I met you, just in a different way. I had stopped living. I was just waiting to die." He touched her face gently. "You gave me a reason to keep going." Velith leaned into his touch. "We saved each other. Then, yes, we saved each other." She moved closer, resting her head on his chest. He wrapped his arms around her, feeling her heartbeat against his skin. It was slower than a human heartbeat, deeper, like drums from a distant land. "I used to be afraid of sleep," Jiwoo said, "because I always woke up alone, because the empty space reminded me of what I had lost. And now," he smiled, "now I look forward to it, because I know when I wake up, you will be there." Velith closed her eyes. "I used to be afraid of fading, of dying cold and alone, forgotten by everyone." She pressed closer to him. "Now I do not fear anything, because I have you." They lay there in the colored light, two beings from opposite ends of the galaxy. One had lost his wife and forgotten how to live. One had been alone for centuries and forgotten how to feel. Together, They had found something neither expected. A home. Not a place. Not a ship. Not a planet. A person. Outside the window, stars were being born. Old ones died and new ones formed, burning bright against the darkness. The universe continued its endless dance of creation and destruction, life and death. But in this small room, in this quiet moment, none of that mattered. Jiwoo felt his eyes growing heavy. Real sleep was coming. The kind of sleep he had not known in years. Deep and peaceful and safe. Velith was already asleep in his arms. Her breathing was slow and steady. Her body was warm against his. She looked peaceful in a way he had never seen before. He held her tighter. Then he closed his eyes. And, for the first time in 4 long years, Kang Jiwoo slept. Not alone. Never again alone. The stars burned outside. The universe continued. But in this moment, 2 lonely souls had found each other across the impossible vastness of space. And that was enough. That was everything.